Hello and welcome to today's episode of the Work at Home Rockstar Podcast. Very excited. Today's guest is the bucket list guy. He's a #1 bucket list expert. And what he does is he helps people live their bucket list before it's too late. Very, very cool stuff, man. Happy to be rocking out with you today, Trav Bell. Trav, are you ready to rock?
Tim, stoked to be on. I am ready to rock and roll, mate.
Perfect. So let's start off with a good note. Tell me a story of success in your business.
Wow. A story of success in my business is the fact that I'm here in Ocean Grove, about an hour and a half out of Melbourne here in Australia. And the pandemic has helped me, not hindered me. It's helped me recalibrate, helped me innovate, helped me adapt, radically collaborate like we're doing now. Helped me really reevaluate, what I was doing pre-pandemic, and now the whole thing has changed for the better. I'm happier, and I'm running business, here from home. Two companies, in fact, of which I'm the founder CEO of. Brought on more people. Kids are healthy. We're happy. So life is pretty good. So I'm gonna say, Tim, thanks, COVID.
I don't know if everybody can say that COVID has helped them, so that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I felt myself bitchy, complaining, watching the news, looking at the stats when this thing broke, and I made a decision, and it was really a family pact, to not be COVID's bitch, straight up. And to come out of this thing healthier, business better, relationships better, us as parents, myself and my partner, better parents, better leaders, more money in the bank, so better help it, better everything. And, touch wood, we've been successful in doing that, because I want to be resilient to all of this, and I'm sure a lot of your listeners and watchers want to be the same. So, but we actually made a conscious pact to come out of this better than we went into it.
That's great, and it's definitely a challenge to block it out, But yeah. I mean, like you said earlier, just staying away from the news is really.
Well, I've been through depression. I suffered depression, albeit mild, quite a few years ago. And the number one thing, dude, is switch off the freaking news. You don't watch it. It really does. You start your day, you finish your day with pretty much bad news, and it hasn't been a lot of good news lately. So no wonder we've got this perfect storm of mental health right now. We were already at epidemic levels, maybe even pandemic levels of depression, anxiety, the overprescription of antidepressants, youth suicides. And then we've even got this thing called the loneliness epidemic. It's a real thing. It's the adverse effect of social media. We're all comparing our behind the scenes footage with someone else's highlights reel. And is that what you do? No, it's doing that, isn't it? Swiping up and down, not swiping left and right. That's another app. But then you go throw COVID in on top of that and everything else. It's a perfect storm for mental health.
Yeah. Well, luckily you've been able to shield yourself from that, and that's awesome. And hopefully maybe we'll get some tips from you about how to do that for other people as well. But before we do that, I like to talk about the bad note as well, because on the path sometimes you're gonna make some mistakes. So I'm wondering, is there anything that something that just didn't go as planned that you can share with us that we can maybe learn from?
How long have you got on this podcast? I've screwed up everything, and I was, I'm like, you're a muso, right? I'm a speaker, that I love it. So I've been, the last 10 years, I've been running around the world as the bucket list guy, speaking at conferences, getting paid quite well to rock up, do a 45-minute gig, to do an hour gig, whatever it is, and they give me enough money that would probably equals most people's monthly, and I get it in an hour. Cool. They say with speaking, it's the hardest way to make easy money. And so no gigs, well, no big events, conferences aren't being held. You know this, pubs, clubs, everything, they're not open.
Mm-hmm.
No stages to be on top of, or crowds to be in front of. So I was heavily weighted on that, and they're slowly but surely recovering. So I can't help it, man. That's the bad thing. The bad thing is I was heavily weighted as a professional speaker and a quite successful professional speaker, to suddenly have that boom cut short, just like a muso. What the hell do I do now? I've got to build in some other income streams here. I've got to adapt. I've got to innovate. I've got to do something. I've got to bring all this thing online. So, 7 days later, 7 days after it hit, I adapted, started presenting online, which is kind of weird. You'd appreciate this, man. Like,
yeah.
You get off stage and people are like, I may or may not get a standing ovation. I'm signing books. I'm doing all this sort of, and like, getting selfies and blah, blah, blah. And now the virtual presentations is like me, like I'm doing it with you right now. And then they say, okay, thanks a lot for your presentation, Trav. Now we'll go on to the coffee break or the next speaker, and just like delete you off the screen. You're like,
bye.
Where's my? Yeah. So there's just silence, and not, everyone's like doing this, and they're all on mute, and they're all like this, and you're like, I'm missing something big here. Something that I'm kind of addicted to here, and and then it's like, all right, I guess I'll go upstairs and make myself a coffee, hey? So, so it's kind of weird world that we've had to adapt to. But that's that's the adaptation that we've all had to face. I've had businesses fail. I've had legal troubles. I've had people steal intellectual property off me. I've had all that sort of thing. But I'd like to think, and I've been in my own business since I was, 20. So I'm 48 now. I've never had a job in my life. So I reckon over time I've had the ability to take 6 punches and get up on the 7th. This has been a pretty big punch, though. The old COVID.
Yeah. Well, I hear your story perfectly, because when this whole thing started, I started doing the live music thing too, and it was so painful. Because us, it's like a song after a song, right? And after every song, every once in a while, like you don't necessarily. I mean, I play in some pubs sometimes too, so you don't get an ovation after every song, but there's chatter going on in the background. At least there's someone there. And this right here, you finish the song and it's crickets, and I'm like,
this is weird.
I guess I'm just gonna go to the next song.
So I reckon I did a pretty good job. Anyone?
Yeah.
But the advantage of this is I actually I finished the book, and it's taken me 10 years to write, man. Like this, I'm a speaker. Now I have to say I'm an author, which is kind of just weird coming out of my mouth, because I'm probably like, half the muso like yourself, man. You just like, it's a battle of procrastination, perfectionism. It take me 10 years to write this book, and it's only this freaking thick. That's pathetic. But thanks to COVID, I wasn't flying around the world doing my thing, and I actually completed it, and that's another thing off the bucket list. And thank God I got that done and ticked that off. And so, but there's been a lot of adaptation.
Yeah. Well, and, maybe a little tongue in cheek here, but, without looking at any of the news, you weren't involved in any of the news over that time. You actually wrote a book, and the world didn't stop. The news is all still there. So,
No.
It's so crazy that people are like, oh, I just don't have the time. I need to be, up on the current events. And I'm not sure if you do. I mean, everything will still be there. And if it's that important, you'll know, right?
Yeah. I think it's been good. I think it's been good to, globally, that a lot of us have had the opportunity to take this big global deep breath in and to recalibrate. I think that's been a blessing. And if you, to be honest, if 2 years later or whatever it is, if you're still bitching about COVID and the pandemic and still complaining about your business and that, like, you shouldn't be in business. Entrepreneurs, true entrepreneurs, adapt quickly. They quickly adjust the sales, and that's what makes a good business owner, a good entrepreneur. If you're still bitching and complaining, when is it all going to go back to normal? Get out of the game, man.
Yeah. Well, and that is the game of entrepreneurship too, because things just keep on changing, and nothing ever goes back to normal. You're just constantly reinventing yourself, right?
Yeah, and so we've all had that opportunity to redefine what our new normal is going to be. And now I'm going to, a lot more people staying at home, connecting with families a lot more, being a tourist in their own hometown versus trying to travel the world. And, people have made some big life choices, especially in the people that I've connected with, and they've started businesses, stopped, employment with another, gone into their passion business, stopped the thing that they felt that they had to do, and rekindled relationships. It's been, I reckon, some really good that's come out of it too.
Yeah. So now let's talk a little bit about your home office, your jam room, I guess. And actually, the first question is why? Yeah, why did you decide?
That's a fake Zoom background too, by the way.
I know it isn't, because I just saw somebody go upstairs.
Yeah, damn it. Yeah, it's full of books. Does it make me look like intelligent? I haven't read any of them, but that's not the point.
Osmosis.
Yeah, the knowledge. No, I'm actually doing a thing on my bucket list right now. Check this out. Because I'm the bucket list guy, so I've got to be always practicing what I preach. So, hey, and you'll love this. So I'll tell you about 3 things that I'm doing because I've been on a lot of podcasts. So what is the bucket list guy? What about bucket list if you're pandemic, if you can't travel? Dickhead, bucket list isn't just about travel. I've done a TED talk. Go and watch that. It's called Life's Too Short. And what I do is unpack my bucket list blueprint. It's a 12-letter acronym for how to create a personally meaningful and holistic bucket list. So travel is just one component of that. Apart from doing the book, now I can't play. I reckon I can dance all right, but I can't play a musical instrument to save myself. I really can't. But as soon as I finished that, as soon as they came out, I bought myself something special. Check this out. I didn't have this plan.
All right.
Boom.
Nice. Look at that. That's awesome.
Boom. 4-channel mixer. So rather than being on the other side, I'm on this side. And so literally on my bucket list is just to play a party.
Nice. That's a great idea. Great idea.
And I find, like, that's why, because I can't play, but that's a way in which I can release, and I can get that. I love just finding tracks and mixing them up and doing weird shit to them. And yeah, man, like it's something that I find flow in, and the hours just disappear. That's what it's all about, right? So and
music is meditation in a lot of ways.
So there's that. I'm learning Spanish, which is on my bucket list, thanks to Duolingo, on 123 days as of last night into learning Spanish. That's a really cool app. And these books, starting from there through to there, I'm reading 52 books in a year. Nice. As a challenge to myself.
That's a tough one. Yeah. I know.
And that's here to stay, that habit. We get up at 4:30 every morning. My partner, Tracy, she's an artist. I read a couple of chapters out loud at 4:30 in the morning. We have a coffee. She learns and sketches while I read out loud and get my instrument going, and nice and early. And so we've been doing that for quite some time now.
So you're working with your partner. Who else do you have in your band that you work with regularly?
I've got a full-time VA out in the Philippines that helps me manage my day-to-day. I've got all kinds of coaches and mentors as well that help me for different things. And I believe if you're going to be a coach, if you're going to coach people yourself, you've got to have a coach. That's just the way I am. I've had people working for me sort of all around the world. I love working from home, like I'm an entrepreneur. I can set my own rules. A lot of people can't do that, and they're lost and dazed and confused without the confines or the rules of an office. That structure and clocking on, clocking off. I've never had that. In fact, I'll do anything to avoid that. So the working from home, this is all by lifestyle design. So we've got, I'm looking over at the beach where I grew up surfing. And that's, working from home, running my companies with everyone contracted around the world, doing different things, using technology to keep everyone connected, Slack and blah, 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 all these, and obviously Zoom. So I was kind of doing that all before, COVID, and had a global team kind of helping me out, of salespeople to tech people, website designers, VAs, like I said, coaches, etc. I've culled some team. I've also brought more people on during the last couple of years too.
What's your process of bringing on a new team member? Like, what do you look for in a person?
I just look for a gap, and then I actually look amongst my network and who can actually help me, rather than going through traditional channels. Like, I like to get referrals. So, there's no shortage of people that want to help. And especially if you've got a big vision and stuff, people come to you.
Yep. I agree 100%.
That's fortunately, I've been in the fortunate position where I've done what I do. And then we get into conversation with some people, and they might have skills that, they might come in for a season, come in for a quarter, or might come in for a couple of years. But we live in a very contracted kind of world these days, and people are normally doing other things, and people have got a few streams of income. I've sort of been on that path for quite a number of years.
Yeah, I find that those are that's what I look for. I tend to like people that already have their own thing as well, and they're very serious about their business.
That's a good thing, yeah.
Yeah. Then you can kind of marry the two goals together. You're not hiring someone specifically that
for doing that one thing. Yeah, the only person that I've got now is my VA, and she's phenomenal, and she just works for me. Well, that's what she tells me anyway. She could be working for 5 people, I don't know, but she just works for me, and so that's it. There's some security in that, and I'm not overpaying. I'm paying good money for the Philippines, and she fills all the gaps, does all the stuff that I'm not good at, and that is a lot.
Yeah.
So
now you mentioned that you have some coaches. So, like, first of all, what was your mindset when you first got your first coach? Was that something that you knew you needed, or did you have to talk yourself into hiring somebody?
No, I grew up as a competitive athlete. Like, I was a competitive surfer, swimmer, like lifeguard and all that sort of thing growing up. So I grew up on the beach basically, and I've always had coaches. My real learning started. I went to university, just did enough to get through. But my real learning started when I started my business straight out. Like, I was in the personal fitness training industry for over 20 years, and I just knew going to seminars, reading books, doing courses, maybe engaging coaches for a specific part of my business, not a generic kind of business coach. I wanted someone just for that component. I always, like, pay to play, because I talk about bucket lists. So I'm very conscious, and having all these conversations with people around the world all these years, I'm very conscious of how little time we've got left, and so why try and, here's you here and here's where you want to go. Why try and do this yourself? And it always looks like this. Why not just get a coach to straight line you? And instead of that being like that, it's like that now, and just straight line. And sometimes you got to pay to play.
Yeah, and your analogy is perfect with sports. I mean, the top players in the world all have coaches.
Yeah.
So
I think it's the ego that stops us getting help.
Yeah.
And one of the hardest things that entrepreneurs, especially, have to reconcile with themselves is that big question that they don't like asking. Please, can you help me? Entrepreneurs don't ask that because we've got this entrepreneur Superman bullshit going on, that I've got to have all the answers and blah, blah, blah. But the best entrepreneurs, believe it or not, the people that ask for the most help ask the best questions.
Totally. So now, what kind of coach do you have in your life, like right now at this point in your business?
Well, I'm doing a thing called the Build Your Bucket List Challenge at the moment. So this whole online world that I've had to learn through different, you probably know ClickFunnels and all that sort of stuff, and building landing pages. And so this whole thing I've created, it's a lead generator, but it's proving to be really good, where we do this 7-day Build Your Bucket List Challenge. And so if anyone wants to check it out, build your bucket list, buildyourbucketlist.com.au. And but there's a whole system behind that, and I had to get one of the best to help me, walk me all through it. Trying to figure that shit out myself is a nightmare. So I've also got a good business partner, who I've got certified bucket list coaches in all these countries around the world. So I've actually got a very successful business partner who's also plays coach to me, as to teach me more about how to become a global CEO. So that's been on a learning curve for the last 3.5 years. I didn't know how to do it, but I've learned. I've had a book coach to get me through that. I've had various speaking coaches back in the day, and now I am a speaking coach. And I do coaching, so I'm like I said, I'm always investing in coaches to shorten my gap, my knowledge gap especially, and that's what I do for other people too.
Awesome. So it's time for your guest solo, and you've mentioned a few things about your business, but I'm wondering, like, who would be the perfect fit for you that would just get the most out of your programs?
Wow. Good question. Someone who's not, let's say, what's the best way to explain it? All right. Get an idea of what fulfillment means to you. Fulfillment in life means to you. Everyone's got a different picture of what that is. And let's say that's your maxed out 10 out of 10 dream life fulfillment in every area: health, wealth, relationships, business, etc., etc. Rockstar, your version of rockstar life, whatever that is. Actually, that could go south really quick if if you go full rockstar, but you know what I mean. And then I go, okay, well, let's say that's your 10 out of 10. Where are you right now on that scale of 10 out of 10? Are you a 1 out of 10, a 2? Are you 4? Or are you 6, 8? I reckon when there's a big gap between where you are and where you want to be, then what I do is do exactly that. I shorten that gap, and I know how to do it to help people lead a more fulfilled life, to live their bucket list before it's too late. So people who need to wake up, people who want to get off the treadmill, who are sick of Groundhog Day, who are sick and tired of being sick and tired in whatever area of their life, they're the kind of people that I love working with.
Right on. And so how do they find
Here's the thing. Here's a quote that I've been quoted on probably the most. And this is probably encapsulates it all. People are dying at 40 and being buried at 80.
Yep.
We all know them. People just sleepwalking through their life. People just existing, not living by the default, not by intentional design. So maybe that'll give you a picture. But yeah, that's who I've been helping all these years.
Now, and I'm just curious, based on what you've seen, are people coming to you when they hit like some sort of wake up call, or how do they?
No, you know what? Like a lot of people, I do some pretty heavy hitting, pretty hard hitting stuff when I speak in public. I do this exercise where I put up 80 squares. It's an 80 square grid, which represents 80 years on Earth. I get people to actually cross out the ones that have been alive. People are looking at that going, oh shit, hang on, I've only got 20 of these things left or whatever. But then I say, okay, and I've done this for, thousands of people in a room. It's pretty confronting. This is how we get people to pay attention to my seminars is I say, okay, who in here knows people have been diagnosed and died from cancer? All right, you'll get everyone putting up their hand, everyone. I say, all right, how many people do you know have been diagnosed or died from cancer? Give us your fingers. So people are putting up 10s, 2s, younger audience, 1, 2, 3. Some audiences like putting up freaking toes. And then I say, okay, how many of them made their 80 squares? Right. Now I've done that in India, done that in Cambodia, I've done that all through America, Canada, Australia, blah, blah, blah. South Africa, all around the place, the same result. On some of those other countries, I only give them 70 squares.
Wow. So now when someone comes out of one of your programs, what's the feedback then?
The most common thing I hear is, thank you for giving me permission to dream again. That brings a tear to my eye. Like, what the f has happened? Seriously. Yeah. People are living with this false, belief that they've got all the time in the world, but they haven't. And I want people to live their bucket list before they get given a use by date. That's my whole mission, man. And I want to help them live a regret-free life rather than a regretful life.
Love it. What was the website again?
Mine, they can go to thebucketlistguide.com.au, thebucketlistguide.com.au. If they want to join our challenge, buildyourbucketlist.com.au. They can, get in my world that way.
Awesome. Any parting words before we wrap up?
Apart from thanks to COVID, no, man. I just hope that people get some value out of this, and it could be just when we do these kind of interviews, it's maybe a little thing that I've said, you've said, or whatever. But take it very seriously too. Don't just treat it as another podcast. More importantly, if you go buy a book, like you can go to my website, buy a book, or you go and watch my TED talk called "Life's Too Short" by Trav Bell. Here's some homework, and I believe in accountability. Go write your bucket list using the My Bucket List blueprint. Go write your bucket list. Actually get it out of your head. So people are so busy being busy that they forget. They're so busy on their to-do list, they forget about their bucket list until it's too late.
Yeah.
Go just write. Remember these, mate. Remember what these are? What's that?
I used to have one of those pens.
It's a pen. It's a goddamn pen. All right. Remember this stuff here?
Yeah.
It's called paper, people. It's called paper. So it does this funny thing when you actually put that on that. It does this thing called writing. I'm being facetious.
Yeah.
Write your bucket list today, right now, and then send it to me.
Nice. Right on.
All right. Trav at thebucketlistguy.com. Send it to me, and I'll put you in the next book.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for rocking out with me today, Trav. This has been a lot of fun.
Cool, Tim. Great to be rocking out with you, man.
Awesome. And to the listeners, make sure you subscribe, rate, and comment. We'll see you next time on the Work at Home Rockstar podcast.